Order? Okay. And I think based on your report of the couple people being absent, I'll call that the roll call too. So announcements, I do not see any. Presentation is 4.1, presentation by the University Alliance regarding public services building. Judd and Greg, you can kick it off.
Thanks. Yes, we've had the opportunity to work with the University Alliance a number of times. Megan McBride, who's the director of the University Alliance, I see her on the call here tonight, supporting the university students. There's two different presentations tonight. We'll start the first one with a group of, I believe, 7 students. Greg and I got to go watch their presentation last week in class, and they're here to share their results on potential layout for a new public services building. So I see Izzy is on. I don't know if she's got others with her. Izzy, you should be able to turn your camera on, and then you can share the screen if you want for your presentation. Are others with you, or is it Finn is here too?
It's just me and Finn, yeah.
Okay. So,
Okay.
as I said, Izzy and Finn were two of the students that were participated in this, and they're ready to share their results.
Okay. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, like they said, we were working on designing a new public works building for the city of DeForest. There were 6 of us. Finn and I are the only ones on the Zoom today because everybody else had a prior commitment. But we're here. So I'm Izzy. I'm a 4th-year student studying geological engineering.
And then I'm Finn. I'm a 5th year studying mechanical engineering.
And then we also worked with Hannah, Rohan, Baraj, and Soban. So currently, their building is too small. That's their issue that they're having. These are the 2 buildings, the 2 sites that they have. One of them is by more like the downtown area, and then one of them is up more north. And the one on Shanku Way has also a salt shed that I don't think is pictured in, or yeah, there's a picture of it there. Ooh. Okay. So the current building is too small, so we wanted to expand it. The picture on the left here is a picture of their mechanic shop, and then the picture on the right is of their garage space. This is an aerial view of the plot of land where we kind of took measurements as best as we could from Google Maps to get a size estimate on the plot. This is the Shanku Way plot of land that they're planning on building a new building on. And so we took the size estimates, and then we wanted to kind of create a floor plan for this new building. And this building would have all of their equipment, so it wouldn't be split between 2 sites, and it would be more efficient for them to be able to get out the equipment and use it. So what they gave us was a big spreadsheet of all their equipment and all their vehicles. And the first thing that we did with that is we sorted it into small, medium, and large, and then figured out kind of size dimensions for the small, the medium, and the large vehicles.
And then we used kind of the city of Stoughton, just kind of South Madison, as kind of an inspiration. Greg and Judd were able to kind of send us over what they had presented when they had a kind of a full architectural, actual kind of building design done. So we kind of used that as inspiration to figure out exactly what we wanted to do with our design. And then the kind of big needs that we had, we talked with Greg and Judd a lot over the course of the semester and kind of tried to figure out exactly all the different rooms that they would want kind of in the actual like office space, and then kind of also the mechanic shop space. We wanted kind of a few office spaces for Greg, Judd, and kind of others in that department, a large conference room so you can kind of hold kind of emergency meetings in case of like a severe storm or something like that. A water testing lab that's kind of expanded from the small one that they have currently. A new mechanics shop that has a lot of different new features that we'll talk about later. A new woodworking shop, and then also some storage for Parks and Rec so that the coaches and whoever else can kind of access that after hours.
So this is the first floor of the floor plan that we came up with. You can see there's a large garage space with a ton of spaces. And then there's also a mechanic shop. And then there's kind of like the office section of the building, which would also have an additional second floor. So these are pictures from the current conference room and an example of a current office space. You can see that they're not super huge and they just wouldn't have the capabilities for all the meetings that they want. So what we did is we created a two-story kind of office section of the building. The first floor is on the left, and that has some mechanic storage, a new water testing lab, which is over double the size of the one that they currently have, and then a woodworking shop. And then they asked for some library storage as well, so that's also on the first floor. And then some recreational storage for coaches for the leagues. And that one they specifically asked for a private entrance so that the coaches could get in without having to talk to their people at the public works department and making sure that like somebody else was there to let them in. And then the second floor is more of like the offices and the conference room. So we added a big conference room and six smaller offices, and then an additional small conference room, and then kind of like a miscellaneous office space that could be used for really anything they need. And then we also moved the break room up to this floor because previously it was in the basement and it didn't have any like windows or anything, so we decided that putting it on the second floor where they could add a bunch of windows would be beneficial.
And then going on to the kind of garage space, this is obviously going to be the kind of largest portion of the building. Currently, the issue again is that just kind of not enough space inside for all the vehicles. So all of them are ending up stored outside, which is obviously not ideal. So you can go on to the next slide here. And this is kind of our current garage layout that we have. We've got kind of the bottom left with the kind of the larger trucks. So that'd be your dump trucks, all your plows, that type of stuff. And then the top right is going to be kind of your normal size parking spaces. So those will comfortably fit a pickup truck, but not much more than that. That'll kind of allow you to kind of have plenty of space for both the public works department and then also some extra space. I believe there's currently 9 spots allocated to the police department as well. So kind of mixed use building there. And then the bottom right is going to be all the implements, kind of smaller things that wouldn't necessarily take up an entire parking space, so like lawnmowers and all this other stuff. Kind of just giving the department a lot of different spaces, a lot of different kind of abilities to store everything that they have inside. And then in the middle there, you can kind of see those 3 red lines. Those are going to be your entrances to the mechanic shops. You can enter kind of from the garage space. You don't need to going outside, especially in the winter. So you can kind of keep the heat inside the building as much as possible. And then on the next slide, you get current machine shop, obviously very, very crowded, lots of stuff going on there. So the biggest kind of upgrade that we made, you can see on the actual floor plan, is that we added a lot of storage space, added a lot of kind of new areas for them to actually work in so that they're not kind of cramming everything into one small area. On this, we've got 2 large bays for kind of those larger dump trucks. Those are going to be having a high enough ceiling so that you can fully kind of extend the bed upwards and be able to service them inside the building. And then you've got 2 smaller bays for kind of your normal sized vehicles. These allow them to kind of do all the different tasks and maintenance on these vehicles in-house without kind of needing to ship them out to other people. And then you get that big storage on the left side, so you got plenty of space inside the building to be able to kind of store all your different tools, everything else that you need. And then on the right, you've also got a wash bay, so you can wash off all the vehicles, get all the salt off them to stop them from rusting, and then just generally keep kind of the garage space a little bit cleaner, which is obviously ideal. That's about it. And then here's kind of the general footprint that we've kind of envisioned with this current layout. You got the office on the bottom right, the shop in the middle, and then the garage. Those white lines kind of indicate potential driveways to the building. So you can kind of see you've got a main entrance in the front that accesses both the shop and then also the garage. A side entrance, which has on the right, that has kind of employee parking as well, and can also enter that garage, and then access on the left as well. So we've got plenty of entrances and exits so that you don't have any kind of bottlenecks in the system, no kind of issues with too many vehicles entering and exiting.
Okay, to kind of sum it all up, we created a floor plan that has lots of indoor storage, it has task-specific rooms, it has some shop space, and then we updated the office space. And then also kind of as we were going along and doing the project, we took our stakeholder input and ensured that it would be a floor plan that they were happy with. And then so the next steps would be to bring in an architecture firm or some company that could actually ensure the rooms and entrances and hallways all meet the safety standards and then design more of the structural aspects. And then there was also a second option for a site that they could build on. So they would have to choose which site, but our floor plan would be able to fit on either site. So there wasn't much difference between those two there. Thank you guys for listening. I don't know if we're doing questions or not, but if we are, we would be happy to take any.
Yeah, the board might have questions for you, so let Jim
Okay.
run.
Yep, I think there's time. Is there any commissioners, questions, comments? Brad?
And maybe this is a question for Judd or Greg. Talking about that other plot of land, does this meet the needs of what you were looking for or expecting? Or if you had a bigger space to build on, would you expand?
We probably would have a slightly larger footprint if we had a larger space, right? So if we went somewhere other than Shanku and we're looking at a 15, 20 acre parcel, there'd be more things there, right? There might be more outdoor storage or other things that we could do as well there. So we don't necessarily need that with the current location at Shanku, right? We do have outdoor storage already in that other building. But I think this gives us a good start for ideas of what we can do for that next building.
Any other questions, comments? Colleen?
What is the projected date for this?
Be January of 2026. No, I'm just kidding.
Good.
No, I think we're probably looking at 28, 29 in that realm. I think Bill might correct me if I'm wrong.
Building we have now isn't that old, is it?
Well,
The Shanku building was built in 2018. Uh, at that time, that was what funds we had to construct that. So we didn't build for the future. And
Okay.
there were plans for future development on that building, but as we're continue to grow, that's not going to meet our demand either.
To see how crowded we are, pictures from Shanku look a lot like these did back in 18.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's a lot of moving back and forth, moving trucks, taking trucks out there, jumping in trucks there, going to our job sites, leaving trucks outside with a cord plugged into them so they start in the wintertime. Sometimes we have to take jumper cables and jump them because somebody forgot to put the cable on.
Not highly efficient, huh?
No, no.
Why does the police department have so many parking spaces out there? What are they putting out there?
PD currently isn't storing anything out there. They might store a message board or a speed board right now, but if in the future we're able to build another building, they would have extra storage instead of taking up space in their apparatus bay here. They can put all their vehicles in there and all their speed boards somewhere else.
Okay, so it's not necessarily cars we're talking about.
Yeah, no, it's all equipment. Yep.
Just because I'm ignorant of your operation, 6 offices? What's all the office space?
So we anticipate, Judd and I, and it could be the rec department might be out there. The foremans, we got 3 foremans. So that's 5 between Judd and I and 3 foremans, and then if Sam and goes out there, Sam, that's something.
Yeah, I think even right now too with the current sites is we have like for some of the rec stuff, we have some of it stored here. We have some upstairs over there. We have some downstairs. So I think maybe some of the meeting space was if we're keeping all of the rec stuff somewhere else, maybe it does make sense, especially since there's probably a lot of event stuff stored there too, that maybe we all migrate to that building. I think is maybe kind of why those 6 offices were there.
Well, it sure makes sense to keep all your stuff in the same place. Okay, just curious. Thank you.
we currently have the 3 foremen are in probably 15 by 15 office now, right? I mean, they're all crammed in there. There's 3 desks. One slides out, they're backing into the other one, but that's the space we have. So we maximize what we have.
Oh, Alicia?
Just looking to the future, I know this is on the agenda coming up, but would we also be putting impounded vehicles there as well?
Electric powered vehicles.
Impounded vehicles.
Oh, impounded vehicles. That would be a question for the PD. I don't think so. There has been times where they've had taken vehicles out to their secured storage out there at Shanku, but it's very limited. So probably not.
So a couple of comments here first. The first one is in regards to the time frame and the timeline. So the study of a public service facility is in our strat plan. The intention is to try to time up that financing with when a tax increment district comes off. And so that we can balance that mill rate or that on the debt service side. So that 2028 timeframe, maybe 2029, that's when we forecast our next tax increment district would be closing. Now there's decision points within that, affordable housing extension. Where are we on our debt service capacity, et cetera, and we can structure that so that it's lesser of an impact on taxpayers. So if you walk that back, 28 construction, 27 really is the planning stages, 26 is continuation of space study and confirming the space demands. That's the tentative schedule. And so I think there's going to be opportunities. We had the opportunity here with University Alliance to get us started. Things obviously can change between there, including different various sites. And then potentially the combination of facilities. One of the other things that will need to be considered as part of this process is as we think about where the public services are moving to, what potentially could happen to the facility that is there currently, and how does that add to the equation?
Yep, thank you. Anything else, Bill? Anything else, say from the students or Greg Judd?
I just like to thank Izzy and Finn for being here tonight and their other partners that helped formulate this plan. It was an enjoyable experience to work with them, and I wish them the best as they venture on to new prospects, whether they're graduating in a semester or other things. So the University Alliance has been a fun partnership so far.
Thank you, guys. It's been a great opportunity for all of us. I know we all enjoyed it.
Thank you very much for helping us out too. So next item is another presentation from University Alliance regarding mountain bike park. It's like Judd, Greg, and Sam.
Yep. So Greg and myself, along with Reese, predominantly worked with the 2 mountain bike groups. And this is the second one, right? So Lola was supposed to be here in November, but I failed her and sent her I told her 6 o'clock for the village board meeting, forgetting it was the work session started at 5. So that was on me. But she's here tonight. She presented her final presentation, I think last week, right, Lola? And so she's looked at kind of the needs of a mountain bike, right? And she did the survey and engaged it for us. So I'll let Lola kind of share with you all her results. Lola, you should be able to share your screen if you want to share your presentation, and then you can unmute and take over.
Can you guys see the screen right now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So hi everyone, my name is Lola, and I'm a rising senior now at University of Wisconsin-Madison, and I'm majoring in biology right now. So today I'll be presenting a project about mountain biking in DeForest. And this presentation looks at community interests, environmental concerns, and how a new trail can be designed in a sustainable way. So the goal of this project is to balance outdoor creation with long-term environmental protection. So this is the trail project overview. And so this project proposes the development of a new mountain biking trail in the forest, and the trail is designed to provide safe and scenic riding opportunities for people of all ages and skill levels. So an important part of this project is making sure the trail is accessible and easy to navigate. And at the same time, the design focuses on protecting natural habitats and supporting local ecosystems. So the next slide is basically the current threats to the forest. And the map that you can see right now is the satellite image of the area where the new trail will be placed. And the village is planning to build a new trail in recently acquired parkland. And this area was selected because it offers a safe access for residents and it is enough like open land for trail development. And it is also environmentally suitable for low impact trail design. And this means the trail can be built in a way that minimizes the damage to the surrounding forest and wildlife. So this is like the detailed map of the satellite image. And this map shows the proposed trail layout within the park area. And the trail is planned to run throughout the site to evenly distribute use. And the possible boardwalk crossing, which is circled right here, they're included to protect the sensitive areas such as wetlands, and these design choices help reduce the soil erosion and protect natural features. And I actually did a survey to get some opinions from the residents about the new biking trail on the Village de Forest website, and we got over like 300 responses from the residents. So from the new slide starting here is just a summary of the survey that I did on the residents. So I'm gonna start with the awareness and park uses. And the survey results show that only about 20% of the residents are aware of existing trails. And however, more than 80% of residents use park weekly or even daily. So this tells us about like that people already value outdoor spaces, even if they're not really familiar with current trails. And this gap really shows a strong opportunity for better trail development and communication. And the next slide is about the community interest in new trails. So more than 80% of residents said they are really interested in a new mountain biking trail. And most of these residents reported being very interested, not just somewhat interested. And this strong level of support shows that the community is ready for an official and well-managed trail. So it also highlights the importance of planning the new trail in a thoughtful and sustainable way. And the next slide is about how residents were asked like what makes a trail more inviting, and the scenic routes were the most important factor for most of the people. And also the safety and family-friendly design were also the major priorities. And this shows that people want trails that feel welcoming, safe, and enjoyable for all ages. And the next slide is about what residents expect from a new trail. And the community's vision for the new trail focuses on three main goals, which is recreation, health and wellness, and the youth engagement. So the residents want the trail to support physical activity like going out to the outdoor spaces with family and overall well-being. So they also want it to be a space where younger community like children members can safely enjoy the outdoors together with the family. And there are also the community concerns and priorities reported, and most of the residents reported having no major concerns about the project, but some people expressed some concerns about environmental impact and safety. So other concerns also included trail maintenance, cost, and noise, and some of the people were worried about the people from other village coming to the to the trail to enjoy their outdoor spaces, but these concerns show why careful planning and long-term management are really important in making this new trail. So how we're gonna address these environmental concerns, or basically we have like 4 goals right now. And one goal is to achieve high user satisfaction while maintaining the healthy ecosystems. So mountain biking recreation, we are planning to achieve an 80% trail user satisfaction rate by 2029. And the next one will be improving the woodland habitats and reducing invasive species and protecting the stream quality by 2029. And these targets also help ensure that recreation does not come from like the cost of environmental health. And these are the main 4 goals of the environmental concerns. And this map is basically from the other team who's working on just the environmental concern analysis right now. And this diagram shows how different environmental factors like climate impacts, invasive species, and erosion are connected to each other. And by understanding how this factor interact, planners can make better decisions. So this approach supports both like conservation efforts and the sustainable trail usage. And more detailed analysis will be presented by the other group. We also asked about how they want to be connected with the project, and residents prefer receiving project updates through social media and the village website, where we basically did the survey on the residents. And quick and accessible digital communication is important for the community engagement, and using these platforms like social media and the village website helps keep like residents informed and involved throughout the project. So that was it for my presentation. And in conclusion, like the community feedback shows strong support for this mountain biking new trail project, and the project addresses the recreation needs while prioritizing the environmental protection. Thank you.
Thanks, Lil. I just want to add in, she had talked about the other findings. So if you recall last board meeting, work session, we had the other University Alliance group did that more in-depth stuff. So we connected the 2 University Alliance groups, that group last week, and Lola, so Lola could incorporate some of that stuff into her findings as well. So it was nice to have that connection, and that was like the diagram she had in there came from that other group's stuff. But it was great working with Lola as well. It's been a joy to work with her and have her help facilitate the mountain bike stuff.
Thank you. Any questions, commissioners? Comments? I guess I will thank you. The one question that I have is you showed a aerial view that talked about, say, I think boardwalk crossings. I
Yeah.
guess what I gathered from that is you're sort of showing the areas that are maybe more environmental concerning as far as that we want to cross. And I'm just wondering, has there been any thought of, say, trail layouts yet, or is that to come?
That'll be to come. We've not even really looked at how the trails might be laid out in there. We have considered looking for a Knowles Nelson stewardship grant, right? So boardwalk is a more expensive proposition for trails segments rather than asphalt. And we want to make sure these areas are environmentally protected. So as we move along with that trail project, we will certainly look into Knowles Nelson as ways to get across the 2 sensitive areas there that are lowland, wetland, sedge meadowish.
I guess I'll ask you, Judd, or maybe Bill, is this in our capital improvement plan? Is it a year out then?
Yeah, I don't believe that it's in our 2026 capital improvement plan. At this point, I think there's still a couple of planning steps that need to happen before we do so.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? And thank you, Judd, Greg, and Lola.
Thank
Great
you.
job. Item number 5 is department updates. 5.1 administration updates. Anything, Bill?
I don't have anything beyond what's on the agenda.
Okay. Financial updates, Carol?
Yeah, I just thought I'd let everybody know the tax bills did go out last week, so we are starting to collect payments already. And they can be paid online. So anyone who wants to pay their tax bill online, go out to the website. You'll find the link to get to that. And we are accepting payments online.
Very good. Thank you, Carol. Police Department, Chief Olson.
Yep, just one thing. Last week, Wednesday, our newest officer, Alyssa Bailey, graduated from Milwaukee Area Technical College Police Academy, so she's now a full sworn law enforcement officer. Her first day in the office was today. She'll hit the street just right after Christmas. So excited to be at full strength.
Very good, Chief. Public Services update, Judd.
Nothing but snow.
Yeah. Quite a bit of it too. Community Development update, Alex.
Updates.
Administrative Services update, Kelly.
I was just gonna say, we are very busy collecting taxes. A lot of people are coming in to pay their tax bill, and people are being very pleasant, so we really much appreciate it.
I think I'll add, it's also paying your pets too, right? Your dog license.
Yes, we are in the middle of dog license renewal also. We did start that a little earlier this year in hopes of avoiding the mad rush of dog license and tax payments, and it's working out very well. So we'll continue to do that, of sending out the renewal in the end of November, right before Thanksgiving. So people have an opportunity to do that and then can focus on their taxes.
Thank you. Item number 5.7, recreation and community enrichments. Is that you tonight, Sam?
Yep. So 2 weeks ago, we had the holiday tree lighting and the candlelight hike. We both had good attendance for both the events. Thank you to all the parks guys for helping set up the park. And it was two great events. We also have the Merry and Bright Tree Challenge that's still going on. You can still vote up through the 31st of December. So just heads up that is still open. And then Trisha has started to get a steady stream of applications for the Forest Dragon Art Fair already. And then the Shop Local event will end this Saturday, December 20th.
Thank you very much, Sam. Any other businesses that lawfully come before the committee? Seeing none, item number 7 is adjournment.
To adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Tashidra, seconded by Brad. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0 and we are adjourned at 5:34. We will be back here at 6 to start our next meeting. Thank you.
2025 Village Board meeting to order. Village President Jane Cahill Wolfgram is not here tonight, and so procedurally here the board will need to take a vote as to who to chair the meeting this evening, and so I'll let it go from there.
I'll make a motion to nominate Trustee Simpson to chair the meeting.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Thank you, Bill and trustees. So item number 1, call the meeting to order, has already been done. Roll call, Kelly. And also be noted that Jan is absent tonight. Recital of the Pledge of Allegiance. Brad, could you lead us? Thank you. Item number 4 is announcements. There is none. Item number 5 is consent agenda. And staff noted to me that one of them was at what item is that, Bill, that you were gonna remove?
Yeah, Jim, we would like to pull out item 5.3.3, resolution 2025-113, a resolution terminating tax increment district number 3. We'll bring that back to a future meeting in 2026, as that is the terminating year.
Thank you, Bill. So we're looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda, or if anybody wants to remove one for discussion. Alicia?
I'd like to remove item 5.2.1.
Okay. Any others? Okay, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda minus 5.2.1?
So moved.
Motion by Tashidra. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alicia. Any discussion? No, there is none. So all those in favor, please signify by saying none. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Item 5.2.1, ordinance 2025-040. Wanna start, Alicia?
Just in reading this one, I had some questions for Chief Olson, just on really enforcement, and so I can just say all my questions. Is that preferable? Or do we need to kind of go through it first?
Can we address them one by one, please? That might be easier so we don't miss anything.
Sure. All right. So for this one, would enforcement be reserved for egregious or repeat reckless driving offenses? And I guess more specifically, sorry. Just asking how, is this every reckless driving charge is getting impounded?
No, it's not every reckless driving charge is getting impounded. So previous state law had it, you had to have multiple offenses prior to being able to tow the vehicle. A lot of the problems aren't necessarily with us, but what this ordinance does is adopts a new state law that allows law enforcement to tow reckless vehicles after the first offense. A lot of times the drivers of these vehicles are not associated with the vehicle. In other words, it's not theirs. So very little care. They're putting the public at risk. They're putting lives and property at risk. Just out of control, egregious behavior. So what it allows us to do is have the vehicle towed to a secure lot of a tow company. They hold the vehicle till the owner comes to claim it. And then the owner of the vehicle is charged a towing fee and a storage fee. At the same time, the driver is issued a citation that goes to the municipal court for reckless driving. So this isn't just, oh, you were speeding too much. This is reckless driving. This a lot of different behaviors.
Thank you for the clarity. I have one more question then. Are there any hardship considerations or appeal mechanisms built into the tow process? And you might have already answered that it's going to go to court, but let's.
The citation itself would go to court. Any kind of tow fee is collected by the tow company. So that would have to be a matter for the tow company that was removing the vehicle from the scene. But again, because these are based on pretty significant adverse driving behaviors, our job is to protect the public interest and the public safety. So, if that matter would have to be just negotiated with the tow company and the individual, the owner of the vehicle.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any further discussion, Brad?
Chief, is that officer discretion or does it have to go to a sergeant for approval?
We will set parameters inside the police department. I don't always have a supervisor on duty. I can say in the time I've been here, and I'm knocking on wood right now, we haven't had anything that would qualify for this. But again, not being prepared for something that could happen would leave the village exposed. That's why I'm asking to adopt the new state law into our ordinance code.
Okay. Anything else, Brad? Anybody else? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Tashidra, second by Alicia. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Item number 6, presentations. There is none tonight. Under that item, old business, resolution 2025-114, resolution approving 2025 water supply service area plan. This is going to start off by staff presentation of Judd and Greg, and it looks like Craig.
Yeah, well, Craig's here, Greg's helping out front, so. So there was a memo in the packet, right? So we had the public hearing on November 18th where we presented the plan. It was an opportunity for feedback from the community. During that time, we had received no significant feedback. There were 2 comments on Facebook post about it, but they didn't really apply to the actual plan itself. They were general comments. So the only other comment I think was from Trustee Simpson about where there was a placement of a water tower in the plan. That's really just a placeholder. I mean, it's not, we're a long way away from that. That'd be the second water tower we would need after, we need one before that. And we have areas that are, we may be identified for that. So at that point, if and when we need to have a 5th water tower, those decisions would happen long after this plan, right? So this plan will be updated every 2 years biannually. So really what we're here to do is for you to ratify it so we can then submit it to the DNR by the end of the month. It needs to be in before the end of the year. So Darren Pope from Veerbecker is also on. So if there are any additional questions and Craig's here, we can answer those for you.
Thank you, Judd. Go ahead.
Rookie, sorry. Just to add too that we're going to be looking at this every 2 years from this point forward. So, to your point with looking at a different location for a water tower or any other facilities for that matter, it'll be continuously reviewed.
Thank you. So next item is public appearances, and I have none registered for this item. So discussion and possible action. Commissioners, any comments, concerns, or action? Colleen?
I make a motion to approve 2025-114.
Second.
Motion by Colleen, seconded by Tashidra. Any comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, guys. Well done plan, so thanks. New businesses. Item 8.1 is a resolution 2025-115, a resolution amending the Village of DeForest 2026 operating budget. And Carol is going to lead this staff presentation.
Yes. So if you remember last month, the board approved the 2026 budget as it was recommended. At that meeting, members of the library board came forward and requested that you consider giving them some additional funds to help bring their salary and wages up to a competitive amount. At that meeting, they just kind of gave you a total dollar amount and said, this is how much more we need. The decision was at that point for the board to just approve the budget as it was recommended and asked me to come back with an amendment so that you could see a little bit more detail behind that number. So that's what I have provided you tonight is the breakdown of the positions and what was approved in the budget versus what they are now asking to bring those wages up to and kind of what the additional amount works out to be. In order to keep our budget balanced, the extra funds for the library would need to come out of the amount that we had intended to go to our capital improvement fund, which was going to help fund our equipment purchases for the year. So it will reduce the amount that we put into Fund 400 for that purpose, but that's the only way at this point that we can keep things in balance.
Okay, any further discussion, or sorry, following the agenda? Public appearances, there was none recorded for this item, so discussion and possible action. Commission, I keep saying commissioners, trustees. Brett,
Make a motion to approve the resolution amending the budget.
Second.
so motion by Brad, second from Tashidra. Is there any further discussion?
Carol, I just want to say real good job doing this. Our library is the central hub of our community, and the workers there do an amazing job. So I really appreciate you taking the directive, going back and figuring out how we can give our library workers competitive wages so we don't continue to lose staff and ultimately impact the community in what they get to receive. They put on great programs. They offer a safe space for everyone in our community. So I just want to say thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
Any other trustees? I guess I do want to say I also appreciate your work, Carol. I do find it pretty concerning the last minuteness, I'll say, of this. So I'm concerned that I don't want to set a precedence that this continually happens. But I agree it's important to keep staff happy, and that's what I'll be voting for, even though it does tear at me that how this was presented at the budget meeting. So any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Item 8.2, ordinance 2025-042, an ordinance to rezone approximately 69.29 acres from A3 Agricultural Transition Zoning District to the M2 General Industrial District, located east of Hickory Lane and north of Daly Road in the village of DeForest. And staff presentation on this is going to be Mark and Alex. Mark, it looks like
I'll start us off. Good evening. I'm Mark Roffers. I haven't met all of you yet. I've been doing planning and zoning work for the village for about 20 years now. And I helped review this particular proposal and a couple of others that you'll see tonight. This proposal, as Trustee Simpson suggested, would rezone about 70 acres on the west side of the interstate, well south of Highway V, and off of Hickory Lane. It's really a continuation of the business park that exists along Cake Parkway and has been there for several years. This land is primed and positioned for industrial development. It's in the village. It's been planned for industrial development for at least 20 years. It's in the Northern Urban Service Area. It has utilities directly adjacent to it. And it's currently has an interest from the Dickman Company, who's developed 4 buildings in DeForest over the last 5 years. And this would be for similar purposes, leasable space for manufacturing and warehousing type uses. The item before you would rezone the land to M2 for that industrial use. Following rezoning, the Dickmans would need to come back to the Planning and Zoning Commission when they were ready to get building on each of the several buildings that they envision within this business park. They would also need to come to the village board, likely, for infrastructure and other development agreements associated with the individual building and infrastructure projects that would be required to serve it. The P&Z reviewed this item following a public hearing at its last meeting, is recommending approval of the ordinance. The ordinance would conditionally approve the rezoning subject to the conditions that are listed within it. Those conditions relate to responsibility for payment to fees to the Madison Metropolitan Sewerage District. They will require the Dickman Company to prepare a master grading plan for the entire 70 acres when they come forward with the first building to make sure everything kind of works in concert and together. The rezoning ordinance would require the dedication of approximately 1 acre site for a potential water tower to serve this development and others in the area. Another condition relates to the road that's at the south end, Daly Road. It's very lightly improved at the moment and shouldn't have industrial traffic on it for the foreseeable future. So that condition kind of ties access to that road to its future improvement. And then within the center of this development, there's a sand and gravel operation. The final condition would require that be fully reclaimed for future industrial use by the applicants. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Anything from Alex? So item 8.2/2 is public appearances. Yes, I do have one registered. So there's a Cass Summerfield. If you're in the room, or if you're not, if you could please come into the main board meeting. Thank you. And again, for the record, if you could state your name and if you're willing, your address.
My name is Cassandra Sommerfeld. My address is on the form. I just wanted to, again, reiterate my concerns with the rezoning of this. I think that we're already losing irreplaceable farmland at an exceptional rate, and I think we need to slow that down. One of the comments that was made last time was that there was no environmental impact. That is not true. There is actually quite a bit of environmental impact whenever industrial facilities come into an area, and it's especially concerning that that's where a future water tower is supposed to be, because that's going to put a lot of negative externalities into that water that's then going to be put out to the community. So that's going to be, I mean, obviously depending on what kind of manufacturing facilities go in there, but you're going to have anything from VOCs, PFAS, iron, different toxic metals going into there. There are spills, there are things that happen. There is no way to really avoid this. So I think it's concerning that there's going to be an industrial park right where there's supposed to be a future water tower. I wouldn't want my water to come from there, knowing everything that goes into the system with those industrial areas. Speaking of the loss of farmland, I think that we do need to take that into account. So between 2001 and 2016, Wisconsin alone lost nearly 250,000 acres of farmland due to development. Just between 2017 and 2022, so that's only 5 years compared to 15 years, we lost almost 130,000 acres. So that's almost half of what was lost in 15 years. It's accelerating at a very concerning speed, and we are one of those communities that does rely on those farms. And I think that taking that away is something that should be considered. I mean, just because this is a farmland community and we are losing it so rapidly that, I mean, you do play a part in that. I also think it doesn't quite seem right that the neighbors weren't notified just because they weren't within 500 feet of that, because the impacts of that on the air, on the water, on the soil, all of that to the neighboring farmland, to Green Acres Pet Resort that, you know, likes to advertise that it's the rolling hills and everything. So you really think they're going to have a lot of good business when they're surrounded by a bunch of buildings in an industrial park? So I think that, you know, it needs to be taken into account that there are going to be impacts, not just environmental, it is going to impact the neighbors, it is going to impact the local businesses there. So when it's said that there's no impacts, I guess it's frustrating because I don't think that's true. And I think that it would be important for them to be notified and for them to maybe have some input, whether it be Green Acres, whether it be the local farms around that. I know there's also the ST Genetics that's right near there too. I wonder if they're even aware of this and how that's going to impact their facilities. Because the big thing with rezoning that we need to look at is that the whole point of rezoning is to be accommodating to the other areas around it. So when you rezone, you should be making a very distinct barrier between residential, farmland, and industrial and commercial, because you are going to have those impacts that leak into those other areas. So it's going to be more than 500 feet. So I don't know if that's something that could even be looked at as expanding, but I do think that those individuals should be brought into this discussion. Thank you.
Jim, I apologize. I forgot to start the clock on that one, but we were watching the minutes and we're good.
Yep, I was going to comment on that too. Thank you very much. So that concludes our public appearances. So there's discussion and possible action that we can start. So trustees want to start, have any questions? I know the Dickmans are here for any questions. I guess I'll leave it again, the trustees. I noted some questions too, but I'll leave it up to you guys to start. Anybody wanting to start the discussion? Holly?
To the Sam's, this is not a manufacturing facility, is that correct?
We're not, right now, all of our buildings, this is our fourth building in DeForest, and none of them were manufacturing. But we don't have a particular tenant for this building yet, the one we put up. So we put these buildings up on spec and we look at different types of tenants, but we're very careful to screen them so that they are responsible companies. And I think if you look at the tenant list of the ones that we have, you will satisfy that they're good corporate citizens and substantial companies.
There's no question you're good corporate citizens and all of your other buildings are distribution centers, so to speak.
Distributors, for the most part.
We plan on owning these. We don't sell our buildings, so we have to be careful who we put in there also. We wouldn't want someone in there who pollutes the building or causes problems, because that just comes back to us.
Thank you.
Any other trustees? Brett?
And Bill, can you remind me, this is part of our comprehensive plan that was developed?
Yeah, so this area is identified in the Northern Interstate Corridor area for our comprehensive plan that was adopted a few years ago. And as such, and when the property annexed to the village has been all along the part of the plan, including the extension of sanitary sewer onto that side of the highway.
Anything else, Brad? Anybody else? I guess I was gonna ask for maybe a clarification or elaboration, and Mark, I'm looking at you. I know we talked about as far as notifying people, and we had our policy of notifying somebody like within 500 feet. And even though that did not include some, say, neighbors, but how long has this plan been in place? So, I mean, I think you stated that at the planning and zoning meeting. So
yeah, just for the record, the village has an ordinance that says it will notify everyone within 200 feet of any rezoning. So the folks that run the pet resort were notified. Folks that run the biotech business were notified. Everyone within 200 feet and adjacent was notified of the hearing. That goes beyond state law requirements. Your second part of your question, Trustee Simpson, I'm sorry.
Just the point I was making is this how long it's been in our plan. So to say that somebody wasn't notified, to me, they had quite a bit of an opportunity to see the comprehensive plans and maybe future land use. And I know you mentioned how long that's been in place.
Sorry about that. The plan for industrial development on this land preceded my involvement with the village, and I started with the village in 2004. The land was actually part of a preliminary plat around that time. That was to be a continuation of that Cape Parkway Industrial Park. For whatever reason, the landowner decided not to move forward with that industrial development at the time. But it's been decades since it's been planned for industrial. And in fact, you know, a fair amount of it has been disturbed already, is in a quarry operation. And the rest of it is high and dry land, so to speak. So there's no wetland, there's no floodplain, no environmentally sensitive land. No intent to draw water from this area, to my knowledge, either. A water tower doesn't mean a water well. So that is important to note as well.
Okay, thank you, Mark. And you caught my other question too. So, any other comments, concerns, or a motion? Colleen?
I would make a motion to approve ordinance 2025-042.
Motion by Colleen. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Brad. Point of clarification, that's the ordinance as written, I think with the conditions, correct?
As written.
Yeah. Okay, any other discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ordinance 8.3 is ordinance 2025-043, an ordinance amending the village zoning code, chapter 15, affecting conditional use permits, evaluation criteria. And Alex is going to start the staff presentation.
Yeah, so I'm just noting that this item and the next item have me as the lead, but Mark will actually be the lead. And I apologize for Trustee Williams and Trustee Cords for not introducing Mark. This is the first time. So Mark is our consulting planner, and he leads most of our planning activities. So take it away, Mark.
Thanks, Alex. So this item bubbled up from our staff development review team, which meets every month to take a look at development activity and solutions. And in particular includes police, fire, and other protective services personnel. Meanwhile, we have proposals bubbling around in concept to build more housing for seniors in the community, which is a good thing, and everyone is supportive of. But as you know, seniors can have unique demands, including demands on the municipal facilities and services like fire and EMS. We have generally require a conditional use permit for uses of that type within the community. A conditional use permit requires planning and zoning commission review and approval. In reviewing and approving conditional use permits, it's important to kind of stick to the letter of the law. The law suggests that such actions have to be based on substantial evidence and or things that are written in your ordinances as opposed to conjecture and speculation. So what we're proposing to do in response to all the above, is to enhance the standards for granting conditional use permits, which would apply to both senior living facilities and any other use that would require a CUP, to make sure that they have the facilities, services, and operational plans in place to serve the populations that they're serving, whether they're folks that live there or folks that work there or visit. So the proposed ordinance is in your packet. It's marked with the changes. You can see a little bit of that on screen that would be added as enhancements, giving the village a couple more arrows in its quiver to make sure that we are responsibly reviewing any conditional use permit that goes forward, to make sure it doesn't unnecessarily burden the village. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And public comment, there was none registered. So trustees, discussion, questions, motion?
I'll make a motion to approve 2025-043.
Motion by Colleen, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alicia. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Item 8.4, ordinance 2025-044, an ordinance approving preliminary and final plat for Ridge at Fox Hill. Replat southeast of the intersection of Peterson Crossing and Bear Tree Parkway, Village of DeForest, Dane County, Wisconsin. And staff presentation, we just found out is going to be led by Mark.
This is a development that's been before the Village Board and Planning and Zoning Commission a couple of times before. It's a 62 unit duplex condo development that's just north of the Hooper corporate headquarters building. The developer has been successful, particularly in marketing one of the two building types within that development. It's a ranch condo building type, and you see most of the perimeter of this development has been developed with ranch condominiums. In 2023, there was a second building type, a 2-story condominium. The builders had a more difficult time marketing those, as he tells me. I think 2 units of those have sold out of the several that were envisioned. The concern that many have voiced is that there's no first floor master bedroom. And so he's come forward, has gotten P&Z approval for a 3rd unit type that would provide that 2-story with a 1st story master. Those buildings would be built within the center of the development, the center loop that you can see displayed around where the words Outlot 1 are on your screens. Unfortunately, when the land was platted, the lots there were not platted with anticipation of the bigger footprint that building has. So the only thing that's before you tonight is to approve both preliminary and final subdivision plats to make the lots that were a little bit smaller, a little bit bigger with this replat. Other than that, the development flavor will be similar. We'll have one additional building type by adding a little bit more variety to the development when it's all said and done, and hopefully a product that's more saleable for the builder.
Thank you, Mark. And I just want to add that it's not changing the number of units, so it's the same density that's been approved.
Correct.
Planning and zoning and board in the past.
And P&Z, by the way, I should have mentioned this last time, P&Z did hear this and recommended approval at its last meeting.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Trustees, again, there is no public appearance. People wishing to speak, so discussion and possible action.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Tashija. Seconded by Brad. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Item 8.5, Resolution 2025-116, a resolution approving the agreement with Stantec Consulting Services, Inc. for a grant administration and grant application support for the Yahara River Stream Restoration Project. And I think that's Judd, or it looks like maybe Craig and Greg.
Oh, Craig's on his way out. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
A lot of work for me to move, Greg, so I'm just gonna stay here.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Do you guys have any questions? That was in the memo. I'm here to answer anything. Okay.
Well, seeing none from trustees, I guess, can I ask a question as far as what do we have now for grants and what we're hoping to?
Yep, so right now we've got phase 1 and 2. We got around a little over 600,000 allocated from grant funds that Stantec's helped us with. So we're looking to go to phase 3 and 4 and get grants for those.
We did get notified that we did get a trim grant for phase 3, which was 200 and I think, I don't remember, 15,000. I want to say, be on the safe side, it might be a little higher than that, but again, we were awarded that grant, and Stantec's done a good job for us in securing the grants, so that's why we want to continue with them in this effort to help us get the grant applications for phase 4 as well.
Thank you. And can you remind me, you're saying you're working on phase 3 and 4. Is that the end of our study or is there phases after that?
There was a total of 5 phases with the project. I think we might have to circle back to phase 1. There's some stuff just south of the South Street Bridge there that we're not doing in phase 1 just because of the timing of it. So we'll have to bring that back at another point, but there would be a 5th phase as well that we might look to incorporate into those things.
Okay, but the agreement in front of us today does not go all the way to the phase 5.
No.
Thank you. So again, there's a resolution. Do we make a motion? No.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Tashija. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Colleen. Any further discussion?
I just want to say good job, guys. It is not easy to get grants right about now, especially with all the different changes and all the different levels. So I appreciate your due diligence to really continue to go after the money that will help us improve our community where it doesn't impact the taxpayers. But grant writing is not easy. So I'm really grateful that you have a company that is helping you to get through phase 1, 2, and a term grant for 3 is pretty exciting. So keep up the good work. Thank you.
Yeah, we're very appreciative of Stantec. And they're going to help us finish the process in the end with all the receipts and to get the money in the end. So that's another big process.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. And we are on item number 9, which is general public appearances. So this is the portion of the meeting that we have appearances that are not specific to an item. And I'm holding in my hand at least 20 people that have filled out forms. I don't know how many are wishing to speak yet, but we'll find out as we run through them all together. During this general public appearances, we give somebody 3 minutes. And I would say after 3 minutes, if you're not done, either quickly wrap up or we'll have to ask you to stop real shortly. I know it can be a stressful thing, so please take a second to calm yourself if need be, but we ask that you state your name. If you're willing to state your address, please do that. And what I'm going to try to do, knowing that there's quite a few people wishing to speak, is I'll call somebody to the floor or to the table and I'll give the at-bat or whoever is up next. And with that, I think this is pretty much as it came in the room is what I was told. Yes, Kelly?
I know some people aren't liking to state their address. But if you wouldn't mind stating the municipality that you reside in so that I do have that for the record and for the minutes, I would greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Kelly. And I guess I'll mention too, as far as decorum, we try to keep the comments from the audience to a minimum. We want everybody to feel comfortable speaking. So please hold your applause and thanks and things until the meeting is done and you can congratulate people after the meeting. So the first person that's on is Lynette Jackson. So if she could come in up to the microphone. And the next person is Keegan Stradley. Is Lynette here? I guess I need to turn the page and make sure she wishes to speak. Yeah. Thank you, Lynette. There's a button, you turn it on green and...
My name is Lynette Jackson and I live in DeForest. Okay. I am voting yes on the proposed ordinance. It's in the best interest of residents and business owners of DeForest to make decisions on any properties that are wanting to be built of more than 30 acres. That will have an overall impact on their quality of life here in this area. I am opposed to the data center being built with our community having the right to say yes or no, as this will have a negative impact on our quality of life that include farmland, nature, animals, affecting properties with noise and light pollution, the ongoing frequencies that can be heard and felt throughout the community, the rise of utility taxes and decreased property values. I feel this will be a detrimental effect on the community. That's it. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. So Keegan Stradley, if you could make your way to the podium or table, and up after Keegan is Ed Morganroth Jr.
This one doesn't bend, does it, huh? Cool. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Keegan. I live in Morrisonville, Wisconsin. My family has a past and a present history here. My grandfather and my great-grandfather both grew up here. He also built a couple homes here and was a union carpenter as well around this area. My father lives here as well as my mother, just kind of coincidentally, actually, separately. But I'm raising my daughter here. I'm married to my beautiful wife, and we're raising our daughter, who's now 4 years old. Since I've been here raising my daughter with my wife, I've always felt a connection to this community, the people, businesses, and the history here. This place feels like more of a home than anywhere I've been. But that's enough about me. I want to talk about the topic of today, which is my opposition of the QTS data center. I'm here today to ask that we pause for some time and truly evaluate the impact of this data center. We've all heard how it will potentially raise our utility rates, pollute the water table, force local wildlife out with sound and light pollution. That aside, this whole project lacks transparency. If this is a data center, then where is the data? There needs to be a comprehensive plan in place. We need to see it in writing, the following: water usage estimates, power usage estimates, including what it will do to our utility costs, the exact positions or jobs they will be creating, full tax transparency, including a list of tax breaks, credits, and long-term exemptions this company will be getting, as well as the water pollution and air pollution estimates, and all NDAs or hidden agreements revealed. This is what we need, I feel, as a community. Many of us here are raising our families. We as great residents of this community need to know the facts, not false promises. We spent 4 years planning a bike path along the Yahara. I sat here and listened to almost an hour-long presentation mapping out the impacts, benefits, and solutions needed to make it work. I believe we need the same, if not more, for the QTS data center. We have the land and resources for that QTS needs. If they truly want to benefit this community, this should not be an issue. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The burden of proof is put on the wrong people here. The burden of proof should not be put on the community, but on QTS. I may never agree with this data center, but the community deserves transparency and a say. Thank you. Hopefully I didn't speak too fast.
No, thank you very much. So Ed Morganroth, and then after Ed is Rhonda Meinholz.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name's Ed Morganroth. I live in the village of DeForest. I wanted to ask a question, and I'm not sure whether you can acknowledge the question or not, but then make a brief comment on the data center. In light of this huge issue that you're all looking at, including Bill and Alex and everybody else on staff, how many of you on the board, and Bill and Alex, how many of you have been up to Beaver Dam to check out the Meta construction site of that data center? Anybody raise their hand or acknowledge it, or possibly?
I guess I thank you, Ed. We'll talk about that in an agenda item, but we're not under public appearances. We don't answer questions.
Okay, I understand. Thought I'd just give it a shot. All right. I have taken the time to go up to Beaver Dam. It's about 35 minutes up there. drove up there and looked at the Meta site. It's actually completely under construction or virtually completely. It's about 500 acres, which is a little less than the 600 to 650 that is in phase one of QTS. And I guess I just ask and request and implore you all to take an hour and a half and go up there and see what the construction site of that size looks like and what it has done to that community. It's an abomination. It looks like a moonscape with a strip mine on top of it. It's on the north side of town, to the west of 151, bordered by highways W and A, and then I don't know what the fourth side of it is, but it's slightly less size than the first phase of QTS. Construction vehicles are everywhere, dump trucks on all the roads. If this goes through into Forest, you'll have, the first phase they said is 5 to 10 years. You'll have 5 to 10 years of just nonstop moonscape type devastating construction, trucks on all the roads. We already have enough trucks from the quarries on both sides of V on the west side of the highway. So I'm going to check back later and find out. I really think it's important that people go up and, going to Cedar Rapids is one thing. That's an all day or a weekend road trip, but this you can do in an hour and a half. And I just ask again that you all go up there and check it out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. So up next is Rhonda Meinholz, and then followed by Lindsay Ray.
Rhonda Meinholz, Town of Vienna. As mentioned many times previously, I am a lifelong member of the DeForest community. I grew up in what is now the Village of Windsor and have lived in the Town of Vienna for the past 24 years. At the village board meeting on November 18th, we heard a board member state that the board has only known about this data center project for a couple of weeks. And at last week's planning and zoning meeting, we heard a staff member indicate that this project is in the very early stages of this process. Both of these statements appear to be false. We have open records documentation that proves that staff members have known about this project since around the beginning of the year, and that board members have known about it since at least the beginning of September, which is definitely more than a couple of weeks ago. This is concerning and something that the community has brought up several times. There is clearly a lack of transparency regarding this project, and that needs to end immediately. In addition, I want to bring to your attention some information regarding the substation on Patton Road in the Town of Vienna. As most everyone knows, this substation is the reason why the Town of Vienna became a target for a data center. However, the substation as it stands today could never provide the amount of power needed to support a data center without a significant increase in size. A few weeks ago, while traveling through the area, I noticed a construction sign near one of the entrances to the facility, and I stopped to take pictures of it, as well as pictures of the massive amount of construction materials on site, which can easily be seen from the road. After reaching out to the Town of Vienna clerk, I was made aware that there is no construction permit in place for Alliant Energy, therefore no construction should be happening there. A complaint was filed with the county at that time. On Monday, December 8th, an inspector from the county went out to the site and confirmed that construction is being done on site without the necessary permits. And based on images from Google Earth photos, it appears that this has been the case since at least July of this year, which is interesting because the landowners involved in the data center project all signed their agreements with QTS on or just before July 1st. After this discovery last Monday, there was a cease and desist order put in place on this substation construction project. Since that time, Alliant Energy has filed a conditional use permit, which will likely be not reviewed until February. Why is this important? Because it shows that just like the situation in Cedar Rapids where QTS was fined for drilling several wells illegally, their business partners apparently also think it's not important to follow procedures or protocols. Instead, they do what they want and ask for forgiveness later. Is this really what you want to get yourselves into? The proposed project is a monster, and these companies are so well-resourced that you don't stand a chance against them if any issue were to arise. You are literally dancing with the
Rhonda,
devil.
your time has expired.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rhonda. Lindsay Fry. And then after Lindsay is Megan McKay. That looks like you'll be you again. Yep, yep. Yes, please.
There, okay. Lindsay Fry here in DeForest. I live in DeForest and my address is on the sheet. I wanted to thank you so much for serving and listening and being here. I appreciate the time and energy that this must take. And I also continue to thank you for having this on Zoom. QTS doesn't have our local interests at heart. I wrote in an earlier write-up, they don't know where all the pumpkins are for sale on River Road in the fall. They're not a local company. One concern too that I have is that they're owned by Blackstone, and Blackstone does not have a good history, and they're worth 150 billion. I think I looked up to, and they have like trillions of dollars in assets. If there are issues with the data center, they can hire more lawyers, and we just won't be able to go to court. They'll just out-lawyer us. I'm also very concerned about water. When I got my brochure in the fall that was addressed to my husband, not to me, I thought that was interesting. They say they use a closed loop system. I have yet to find out what that means. There's nothing in that brochure that tells me what water they use. So even if they use a closed loop system, they have to use some water. And if they don't use water, what are they using? I'm also concerned about the physical size of the land that is needed for this. I'm also concerned too that living about 2 miles away from this, that my property value is going to go down. I already live close to the interstate, and on Zillow you can go look and there's a ding for noise. I don't need more noise. What do we do if QTS or Blackstone files for bankruptcy? And then what do we do if the center becomes obsolete? Does it get torn down? What are we setting up our youth for having this for who knows how long? I do support the petition giving the residents a greater say in what happens in our community. I do not support the center coming here and other large projects coming here without our input. Please listen to the people of DeForest and vote yes to accept the amendment for the that the community has asked for. We don't need this data center. There are too many unanswered questions, too many unknowns. Thank you. And that's what I had.
Thank you, Lindsay. And then it looks like Megan McKay wishes you to speak on her behalf, and it looks like she is a DeForest resident.
Yes.
And after you speak for Megan, there is a Mac Stevenston up next.
Sorry, I had it up here now. I'm sorry, I lost it on my.
Do you want to step down and then we can?
Here it is.
take maybe Mac? Okay, thank you.
I apologize. I'm so sorry. I had the window open and on my phone. All right. So good evening, Chair and board members. I'm reading this on behalf of Megan McKay, who lives at 513 Bayfield Court here in the village of DeForest. I wrote this because I strongly oppose the QTS data center being built in our small community. DeForest is not just a convenient location on a map, it's our home. Many of us choose to live here because of its small town character. It's farmland, it's quiet neighborhoods, in the sense that residents have a voice in shaping the future. I urge you to vote yes to accept the amendment initiated by the community petition. This amendment is about giving residents a greater say in major development decisions that will permanently impact our community. As stated in the petition, I support the petition giving DeForest residents a greater say in what happens in our community. I do not support the data center coming here, and I do not support other large projects coming here without our input. Please listen to the people of DeForest and vote yes to accept the amendment that the community has asked for. I also urge you to listen to the residents of Vienna who clearly voted against annexation. Ignoring that vote undermines public trust and sends the message that residents' voices matter only when they align with predetermined outcomes. As a resident of this small community, I respectfully ask that you vote down the annexation of this land. Beyond process and representation, there are serious concerns with data centers themselves. These facilities are extremely resource intensive. They consume enormous amounts of electricity, placing strain on local infrastructures and increasing long-term energy demands. They require significant water usage for cooling, raising concerns about water availability and potential pollution risks. Noise pollution from constant mechanical systems, generators, and cooling equipment would permanently alter the character of nearby neighborhoods. Once built, these facilities limit future land options, often leaving behind land that is difficult or impossible to repurpose. This decision will shape DeForest for generations. I ask that you prioritize residents over corporations, long-term community health over short-term gains, and democratic input over expedited development. Please listen to the people you represent. Vote yes to accept the amendment. Vote no on the annexation and no to QTS. Protect the future of DeForest.
Thank you, Lindsay. And if you could also thank Megan for us.
Thank you.
So Mac Stevenson. And after Mac is Sam Mill.
My name is Max Stevenson.
You pull the.
My name is Max Stevenson. I live at 5758 County Highway DM. What that is a family farm. It's been in my wife's family since 1849. We live there. We love it here. We'd like to stay there till the end of our days. So we're acutely aware of any kind of issue that comes up, which we believe would enhance precluding us from being able to do that. So I'm here now to state my opposition to the proposed annexation of Vienna land by DeForest to build this enormous data center here. First, I'm concerned about the loss of a large swatch of prime agricultural land that's going to be lost forever. Secondly, I believe that this project would cause a significant negative shift in the culture of both DeForest and Vienna. DeForest would lose much of its small town character that makes it such a uniquely wonderful place to live. Vienna would lose a significant number of our friends and neighbors for many decades that have been on this farm, have been farming for many decades. I believe that DeForest leadership should support over 1,000 of the DeForest petitioners who called for a referendum to decide whether to approve this large annexation. The board should refuse to accept the risk of unproven mitigations of its infrastructure requirements, electrical power, water usage, sewage disposal, etc. In support of the data center at this point in time, we don't know enough information. I request the board commission an independent environmental impact study to ascertain what the real effects would be. I hope this project will be voted down, but at least let the denial or approval of it be the will of the people of DeForest. Thank you.
Thank you, Mac. Next up is Sam Mell, followed by Lydia Reed.
Sam Mell, Vienna. Hello, my name is Sam Mell, and I'm a 20-year-old DeForest graduate and a lifelong resident of the town of Vienna. I'm here tonight to ask you directly and respectfully to sign this petition and allow the people most affected by these decisions to have a real say in what happens to their land and their community, as well as to vote no to QTS. A town should not be able to take land from a neighboring community simply because they have the authority to do so, especially when the people who live there made it clear that they do not want it. Vienna has made it clear. That land is not for sale and is not something to be persuaded with incentives or promises. When the only way forward is to override the will of the people, that should tell us everything that we need to know. The land represents far more than development potential. It represents opportunity for young agriculturalists who want to farm it someday, to steward it, and to carry on a way that has been sustained has sustained this area for generations. We do not make more farmland. Once it's gone forever. No amount of revenue can replace land that feeds people, supports family, and angers a community. If the forest truly values its neighbors, its future, and the people who inherit these decisions, then the path forward is simple. Allow the community to have a meaningful say in what happens to this land, rather than forcing decisions upon them. The very first words of the United States Constitution are "we the people." Not one board, not a handful of decision makers, we the people. Those words are a reminder that the government exists to serve the people, not the other way around. Decisions should be made with the people and for the people. And what I have seen, the people have spoken. Community members understand the potential economic benefits. They understand the reasoning behind these proposals, and still they do not want them. That is a clear message. When the opposition is this strong and this widespread, these requests should not dominate town board agendas or divide communities to this extent. I have not been alive for that long, but I cannot recall another issue that has caused this much unrest in the DeForest community. That alone should give us pause. In my role as Wisconsin State FFA officer, I am entrusted with representing DeForest, Section 5, Wisconsin FFA, and the organization as a whole, which is 1,042,245 members. I live by the principle, we the people. I seek input, I listen, and I make decisions based on what is best for those I serve, not just my own beliefs. If I can do that at 20 years old, I believe you guys can too. I do not want to live in a place that looks indistinguishable from Madison, and I know all the people behind me don't want to either. Please listen to the people who are asking to be heard. Please listen to the youth who will inherit the consequences of these decisions. And most importantly, please listen to we the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Lydia Reed, followed by Tricia Belkey.
Hi, I'm Lydia Reed. I live in DeForest. Thank you for the opportunity to speak and for reading and responding to written messages regarding my opposition to the village annexation and the potential QTS data center. From my perspective, this effort appears to be moving too fast and with little transparency. For example, I attended the December 8th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, and one of the members made that same comment, which was surprising to me, given she is on the commission. She and other members of that board should have been actively engaged as soon as a proposal of this magnitude was brought to the village board. This development also does not align to our community goals or values. When looking at the village's long-term development plan, there is nothing about this proposal that aligns to the stated priorities. Instead, what is stated on the village website is the following. This plan puts forth a vision and strategic implementation plan for revitalizing underdeveloped areas of the village based on public input and community goals. Fortunately, the village president and village staff reiterated this in statements made to the local paper, The Star, in January of this year. From the village president, we have found that by going after the right developments, we can be selective about who we choose to develop in our community. Also noted by the president in the article, village officials have done a redevelopment plan to protect and upgrade the old community. We don't want to lose sight of that. We look at a high standard, for quality growth, and we look to find other folks who value and have the same value structure as we do. Alex Allen, Community Development Director, was quoted as saying, "I think growth is kind of the theme of the moment around Dane County. And one of the things that we also want to be mindful of is how we're effectively managing that growth and not straining our environmental resources." Bill Chang, Village Administrator, was also mentioned, stating that the need for overall investment for the community is through job creation, growth, and recreation opportunities to draw new residents and maintain current residents. Therefore, given that the annexation and QTS proposal is not something the village sought out, will not protect our environmental resources, will not lead to long-term jobs, and does not align to community values, I support the petition, giving DeForest residents a greater say in what happens in our community. Please listen to the people of DeForest and vote yes to accept the amendment that the community has asked for. On a final note, although we have been told that repeat messages and appearances are unnecessary as the board is actively listening, please know I will keep attending meetings, either in person or on Zoom, sending emails and publicly commenting on this effort, as it is too big, too risky, and unwelcome among many of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Lydia. So Tricia, I will refrain from saying your last name because you smiled at me last. And after Tricia, it looks like Prescott. I should refrain from saying his last name too. Belch? Belch, thank you.
Tricia Bulkey. Tricia Bulkey, I live in DeForest. Many of you have said that you will balance what's best for DeForest with what the people want. And the people of DeForest clearly do not want the data center. People who've shown up at meetings in unprecedented numbers, spoken up against it, emailed you and called you in formidable amounts to register thoughts and concerns. Over 1,000 of those people signed our petition in only 6 days to help stop the data center and large projects like this from coming here. That petition was certified and will be presented to you on January 6th. I implore you to vote yes to accept the petition and amend the ordinance. Additionally, our No Data Center Facebook group has grown to 3,000 members and followers, including some of you sitting before us. If you're not already there, you should be, because you could not, in good conscience, vote for this after reading through the articles, videos, posts, and comments. Here is just a sampling of some of those articles which refute every single QTS makes, every single claim they make. Proof that massive data centers cause several nuisances, according to Wisconsin State Statute 823, especially during 10 years of construction. They are detrimental to our health, electric bills, our natural resources, our infrastructure, our taxes, and our property values, to name a few. None of those risks are worth however many dollars you see, and according to our net new construction numbers, adding this high-risk project is completely unnecessary. Not only does it make me wonder how and why you would ignore overwhelming evidence against this project and a residents' profuse opposition, but also why you would ignore the Vienna residents who would have to live around it and whose board unanimously voted against this. With the annexation, DeForest would lose the safeguards and assistance Dane County would provide and face a multi-million-dollar company alone. It is incomprehensible to think you alone could do everything necessary to manage this. Moreover, you created a comprehensive plan to guide what's best for DeForest and define your goals. It's why people like me moved here. But you ignore that too, by continuing to rezone the land that was preserved for agriculture and our environment to build at a ridiculous speed. And the reasons we moved here are disappearing. If you're going to amend the comprehensive plan anytime a developer wants to do something that doesn't fit within the current plan, then why do we have one in the first place? It is mind-boggling to me if you don't see the astronomical risks and several negative impacts on the residents in the name of unnecessary growth. Frankly, it's completely irresponsible and short-sighted if you think this project would be good for DeForest. Listen to your residents, the greater community, the research, and the legislators across the country putting moratoriums on building these monstrosities, and reject the annexation. Reject QTS. Thank you.
Thank you, Tricia. Prescott, followed by, looks like Joe Whitney.
My name is Prescott Balch. I am from Caledonia, Wisconsin, where we successfully encouraged Microsoft to look elsewhere with their data center. Our situation was very different, but much of what we learned is relevant to DeForest. DeForest has the 11th best net new construction percentage in the state over the last 8 years. DeForest's growth has been remarkably consistent and strong. Whatever you're doing, it's working to drive new construction, and you are the envy of your peer villages. But there's a danger with a single large new development. If you were to add a $2 billion data center to your valuation over the next few years, your average of $94 million per year in new construction would go from 4% to 1.9% of your valuation. You will then have to double your average new construction to continue to grow at your current rate. It is possible to grow too fast. If data centers attracted jobs or supporting businesses, you might get indirect economic benefit that could help boost the 1.9%. But data centers don't do that. A data center campus is a large, unproductive boat anchor on your future growth. If you use a TID to support this project, increasing the tax levy using the new construction as it hits the tax rolls will be an unfair and expensive burden on the current residents who likely have been promised tax reduction or at least lower tax increases. Mount Pleasant just did this with their first Microsoft data center, adding 8% to their levy on the backs of their current residents. 15 to 25 years is the average lifespan of a data center over the last 40 years. There is no data on hyperscale data centers because they're too new. But will this time be different? There's no way to tell. But are you protected against obsolescence no matter when it happens? Construction will also last for several years. Tech companies put up buildings consecutively rather than concurrently in order to manage their risk of technology change. This is good for DeForest in that it helps lengthen the obsolescence timeline, but it's terrible for anyone living close to the construction site. And will anyone dare build anything near that construction site for that next decade? Lastly, if this deal doubles your valuation, this taxpayer will be a very high percentage of your tax revenue, a dangerously high financial concentration risk. AI bubbles bursting, single large taxpayer failing, technology, and so on, all put the village in a precarious position from which only the current residents can bail you out. Please consider the risks and not just the rewards. The people here want you to do things for them, not to them. Prove to them it's a good proposal for them and not just good for the people who have to manage the village's budget. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Prescott. So was it Joe? Sorry, Joe. And after Joe, looks like, again, I apologize. Paola, Celia? Joe?
Good evening. My name is Joe. I reside in DeForest currently, but I'm born and raised in Wisconsin, and I'm actually a lifelong farmer. I grew up on a farm in Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin, and we raised Red Angus beef cattle and crops for our cattle like hay, corn, and a variety of different greens. Good evening to you all, to the guests here too. I'm going to just mention a few things that I think are important in this project. First, I would like to say I appreciate how carefully this board has approached QTS proposal thus far. The significant decision, and it deserves a careful, thoughtful review, which I think we all are here tonight doing. I do not think we should rush for approval, and I also do not think we should automatically reject the approval either. I'm speaking it tonight for support of the continuing annexation and zoning process for QTS with strong enforceable conditions. Not because this is a perfect project, but because I believe DeForest is capable of shaping it responsibly. Data centers are not speculative developments. QTS is an international company with properties in Netherlands, which I encourage everybody here to look into. In 2019, QTS took over Netherlands and developed 2 data centers that were already there, and their continued development, even in 2025, has been a great success. The Netherlands develops, they're ranked number 15th internationally for sustainability environmentally, I think far above American standards. So I think they are a good representation of what could happen here in our own state. And then we obviously have looked at the Cedar Rapids project, which the governor, the local politicians, and the local community members to a certain extent have gotten on board and seen the positive it could bring in the future. I've heard the concerns about the water usage, the power demand, and the environmental impact. These concerns are valid. They are exactly why this project should be reviewed and go through the formal annexation process and zoning process. The strongest protections of this village can secure water caps, energy sourcing commitments, build out phasing, and enforcement mechanisms only if the village remains at the table. I also want to emphasize that supporting the process does not mean ignoring the residents, many of whom are here tonight. In fact, it's the opposite. Public hearings, staff review, and planning and zoning recommendations are how the residents' concerns become binding conditions, not just comments in the record. This board has an opportunity to require clear limits on water usage, infrastructure cost responsibility on the developer, phase development tied to performance, and the accountability if the commitments are not met. Those protections don't come from saying no early, they come from negotiating from a position of authority. I respect all the residents here in opposition to the project, but I ask the board to distinguish between opposition of growth and the responsible management of growth. DeForest has always grown deliberately.
Excuse me, Joe, your time has expired.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For your time.
Thank you, Joe. The next up is Paola, sorry, and followed by, it's like Levy O'Brien, I believe. Anybody? Yep. All right, again, could you state your name and residence for record?
Yeah, my name is Paola Lara Santiago, and I live in Madison, Wisconsin. I sit before you this evening to express my deep disappointment in every town, village, and city board that has approved or is considering the development of a data center. I'm here to ask of you a few things. First, I ask you to reflect on your loyalties as members of the board. Do you listen to QTS, Blackstone, or do you listen to your community? People do all kinds of things for money, including abandoning their values and betraying the people in their community. No amount of money is worth betraying your neighbors. DeForest residents are begging you guys to slow down. DeForest residents have also submitted a petition demanding to have more of a voice in this system. They want to be able to vote on approving or denying projects that are larger than 30 acres. It's beautiful and inspiring to see the amount of people in your community that want to strengthen the democracy of this village. In a time of rising authoritarianism in the US government, it's imperative that local governments fight back. We must remind everyone that it's we, the people, who have the power. Not some wannabe dictator, not the 1%, and definitely not large corporations who only care about their shareholders. Therefore, I urge you to approve the petition with the amendment that will be presented to y'all on January 6th of 2026. Second, I ask you to reject the annexation of the 1,600 acres for the proposed data center by QTS. QTS is planning to build 15 buildings over 1,600 acres. They express that they're expecting only one client to occupy all buildings. This signals QTS's intent to lease the building for about 15 to 20 years is what they were saying, to what we can probably estimate will be a tech giant like Microsoft or the Stargate project with OpenAI, Oracle, and SoftBank. We already know that Port Washington's data center will be for the Stargate project. That data center will have 11 data center buildings on 1,900 acres. The Public Service Commission of Wisconsin released the unredacted document stating that the Port Washington data center will be a 1,300 megawatt facility. Comparing Port Washington's data center campus similarities in terms of size to that proposed by QTS, it seems that this facility will be requiring a similar amount of energy. The 750 megawatt renewable energy credits that QTS would buy for Alliant don't even cover their full energy use. QTS mentioned this at the November 12th open house they held. Furthermore, those potential credits wouldn't be in operation for years. Tony Palazzi from Alliant Energy told me that at the moment they were finishing up construction on an energy storage dome. Once that was completed, he said there were other projects in the queue that they would focus on before the one that QTS would invest in.
I'm sorry, your time has expired. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up is it Levi? Levy? Followed by, looks like Deanna, I believe.
My name is Levy O'Brien, and I've been a resident of DeForest for almost 30 years. My wife and I have raised a family here, and they're now young adults. We went through the DeForest school system, so it's been a great community, great experience for us. So thanks for letting me come forward here and express my take on the QTS proposed development. I stand in opposition to the development. I have ethical concerns. I have environmental and health concerns and economic concerns. And so the first concern has to do with the simple fact that the town of Vienna voted for nothing. Like it's a game for unanimously to not approve the development as it was proposed. So, and for us to override that seems like being a bad neighbor, and that's really concerning to me. There are concerns that many people have expressed tonight just about this whole thing is just happening so quickly. It feels like we're being put in a position where, and I say we, I mean the people of DeForest and the village board, that we have to make some decision right away. It feels very rushed and very very rushed. And there seems to be a limited amount of information. The transparency question is very large in my mind too. There's every time I turn around, there's new information coming out. But it's the transparency just doesn't seem to be there. I just have a lot of questions about what's actually going to happen over there. I grew up in a farm not too far from here. Or I shouldn't say I grew up in a farm. I spent a lot of time on my grandfather's dairy farm. And so I'm very familiar with the dairy culture here, or the farming culture here in particular. And I don't want to lose that. That's a part of who we are in Wisconsin. We're the dairy state. I don't care what California says. We're the cheese state too. So my grandfather produced cheese not too far from here. So very familiar with that culture, and that's part of who we are, and I don't want to lose that. And I'm concerned that a 1,600 acre development that's over a quarter the size of DeForest. I mean, this thing is massive. People are probably familiar with boy, I'm running out of time here with Epic, right? Epic is 1,600 acres, right? So that's the size of this development. And they employ 14,000 people. I mean, this QTS development center will probably employ 700. I mean, okay, so there's pros and cons. So, and I guess my time is up here. So, but I just encourage the board to really come forward with a hard no on this as it's proposed. Thank you.
Thank you. So again, I believe this is Diana Carls, it looks like to me. Followed by, which I believe is Michelle Olsier. Yeah. Yep. Please again state your name and.
I got a gym voice, so but I appreciate you being here. All these people want is their voices to be heard. So thank you. On behalf of myself, as well as several others from Dane, Lodi, and the Wanakee.
Excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt you again, but I need you to state your name and municipality.
Diana Carls, Dane. So on behalf of myself, as well as several others from the Dane, Lodi, and Wanakee communities, we would like to state that we are opposed of the data center and the annexation. We feel that this project will not only affect the residents of DeForest and Vienna, but also impact your neighboring communities, as well as future generations. We have several concerns, but a few of them I'd like to drop to you because most of them have been stated. We are concerned about the e-waste, which contains hazardous materials such as lead and mercury. Is that going to be buried in DeForest? We fear that dealing with a global company like QTS, that you are nothing but a line item on their balance sheet. If something were to go wrong, environmentally, water contamination, infrastructure failure, it will be the residents of DeForest who will carry the burden. The community of DeForest does not have the financial resources to litigate against a corporation the size of QTS. These are just a few of our concerns, and it is our hope that there will be a public question and answer forum so that everyone can be heard and that we get to hear what they have to say as well. I hope the board not only follows the voice of DeForest and their community members, but also the concerns of your neighbors, those of us in the other communities, surrounding communities. I hope that you vote no to the proposal and annexation, that does not fit at all in your comprehensive plan, which is your commitment to your community. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Again, I believe it's Michelle Oser, followed by Jenny Sweet, I believe.
Oh, oh, green light. Got it. My name's Michelle Osher, and I live on the north side of Madison, adjacent to the Cherokee Marsh area. I'm here as a newcomer to this issue. I've been hearing and learning a great deal from everyone who's been speaking about all of the environmental concerns. I'm aware of the energy issues, the water usage issues, and so on in a sort of a general way. But I hadn't known about the specifics. I decided I'd like to come and speak for a somewhat different reason since I can't speak from an insider perspective, and that has to do with what are data centers and why are they all of a sudden appearing in such numbers and demanding such large amounts of acreage from the communities all around the country, but particularly in the Midwest. And what I want to say about that is they do not provide any value to a community. What they exist to do is to crunch data. That data has nothing to do with anyone's best interests. For example, you may have noticed if you're ever online at all that ChatGPTs and AI assistants and all the rest of it are cropping up on every company's interface with the public. And I think what's happening is that there's an absolute there is no market for what they're doing except for what they are trying to create. Why are they trying to create it? Because their business is mining your data. Their business is finding out more and more about the people who are using whatever services they're selling, because the value of selling data on the open market is enormous. Whether it's details about an individual's buying patterns, health issues, anything you can think of, that is what data centers exist to agglomerate information for and to provide to the people who purchase the information that they sell from just what we tell them about ourselves. It is not a transparent process at all. It does not produce anything of any value to the communities that house it. It's really a product or a market that is in the process of being foisted on people in this country because it's not going to give you anything for your money. There's no value received for it. It's just you're giving them information. Hard to imagine that that's what they are buying and selling, but it is. And the more we use AI, the more normalized it becomes in our lives, the harder it will be to discourage the proliferation of these centers. So that's what I'm here to say.
Thank you very much. Jenny Sweet. followed by, I believe this is Eugene Reardon.
Okay. I'm going to start in regard to the water supply plan. My public comment.
Excuse me, could you start with your name and municipality, please?
Sweat, Vienna. So again, I'm going to start with the water supply plan because my public comment was inadvertently overlooked. And I'm going to share my thoughts and please seriously consider amending what we had just heard. I'd like to express my concerns regarding a portion of the proposed water supply service plan resolution 2025-114. The plan states this does not take into account QTS water needs, however, seems to have considered the project. The plan contains maps on pages 31, 32, figures 3.1 and 3.2, with figure 3.2 noting a 20-year expansion area. This area includes the exact area QTS is wishing to annex. The same land is included in the recently completed comprehensive plan as agricultural preserve, as found in the map on page 20 or 50. The section of the land should be aligned as the other ag preserve land with no need to be in the 20-year water supply plan. The maps contradict each other with the updates favoring the current project. I would like to see the board request that the QTS section be removed as 20-year expansion in the water supply as the QTS project progresses, and if they provide specific details on the project related to future water needs, supplies, and impacts, this could be reevaluated. Until then, the supply plan should correlate with your comprehensive plan that was recently adopted just in April of 2023. I would recommend removing the highlighted area that corresponds directly to the QTS land for the water supply plan and the 20-year plan, please. So I also had something to say on the QTS annexation. Okay. So if I go over, do I get time or is this considered the separate one? Because I was overlooked on that one.
So on her form, she actually has both. We just didn't have the agenda item, so I apologize that we didn't call you up during that agenda item. So I'm thinking we should start her 3 minutes over for.
Okay,
I probably won't take that long, but.
if that's what you wish, yeah.
Yes.
All right, I'd like to record my opposition to the QS pre-annexation and annexation. I would also like to present some concerns related to the current activities revolved around the QTS proposal. It was made aware that on October 20th, QTS signed a reimbursement agreement with the Village of DeForest. October 31st was the first annexation submitted to the DOA in the Village of DeForest. At the November Village Board meeting, a Village Board member stated that we have only found out about this have not found out about this before anybody else based off of that meeting. These dates were communicated. December 4th, the village had a special meeting to reject the two-part annexation required by QTS or requested by QTS. Typically, special meetings for emergencies or to address a particular time-sensitive item. QTS said themselves they did not want to rush the project. Therefore, one would have anticipated the reject of the annexations on tonight's regular board meeting agenda. I asked the board as I await to reply from my email, why was the special meeting called? The community deserves to be a part of the process that will affect those that live here and those that live around the village. We deserve transparency from the board and the village staff. This is a multi-step process, and the hope is to be involved prior to big decisions that will impact this process to the village and surrounding areas indefinitely. Thank you.
You, Jenny, and sorry again for missing you on that item. So Eugene Reardon, followed by Jonathan Bronk.
Good evening. My name is Eugene Reardon. I live at 4785 Highway B, DeForest. I'm in the town of Vienna, but I'm in PZ. Basically, I want to say that I'm in opposition to the data center. I even got a sticker. Basically, it's a zoning thing. Earlier tonight, you approved an industrial park. It's 63 acres, I think it is. That's been in a 20-year comprehensive plan. A lot of thought went into that. We've got a community that, if you look on Google, we're a quaint community outside of Madison. Lately, in the last 5 years, I've lived here for 25 years or so. In the last 5 years, the growth in this area has been more than in the previous 20. If you, any of the ingress or egress from DeForest, it looks like an industrial park coming in here. We aren't quaint anymore. You got like a 6-block radius here downtown in the village. That looks pretty nice. Coming in, it's apartment buildings and industrial. In the award for the industrial park that you just approved, that is multi-tenant buildings that are going to serve this community, right? Those companies are going to come here and do things for this community. This data center is 23 times the size of what you just approved. We're in an ag area. We're America's Dairyland. It says on our license plates, right? That's where I moved to. I moved there from Los Angeles so that I didn't have to look at urban sprawl. This is urban sprawl. These things belong in the Mojave Desert where there's no people. And land is cheap, not here. And so a word on the power. It sounds like they've committed to $200 million for power that they're going to consume. However, it says, I'm just looking at Google numbers, it says they're going to consume a gigawatt of power. That's more than the Columbia Energy Center, it's a coal-fired plant up in Portage. They're going to need to build a new power plant, and solar's not going to get it done. Solar's not baseload energy. A new power plant to support that's going to cost north of $1 billion. They're committing 200 million, right? So the math doesn't work for this project. And basically, we don't need it. The people don't want it. That's kind of what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Eugene. Jonathan Bronk, followed by Quincy Schaub.
Right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jonathan Bronk, live in the village of DeForest. I'm here tonight in opposition to the annexation of land in the proposed QTS data center because of water quality concerns, increased utility bill costs, impacts to the environment, impacts to our neighbors and our community's quality of life, and conflicts with the current DeForest comprehensive plan. With strong public opposition, including a petition signed by over 1,000 residents, it concerns me the village continues to move the process forward. While the village appears to be trying to give due diligence, which I do appreciate, through things like the pre-annexation agreement, one must wonder if a development that requires all the extra legal assurances and financial incentives from the developer really benefits our community. Communities across the Midwest are saying no to data centers as the negative impacts and unknowns become more transparent. I ask the board to reject the annexation of land and the data center development and to vote to approve the proposed amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Up next is Quincy, followed by Scott Mueller.
My name is Quincy Schaub, and I live in DeForest, and I've been here for about 10 years. I'm just here to let you know that I oppose the annexation of Vienna, and I want to kind of think about the AI centers a little more globally. I want to thank the members. And I want to ask you, how do you want your children your grandchildren to learn. We already see ourselves on these devices more than they're even recommended. Do we want the next generation to learn from our family and our elders? You know, we have history, we have tradition. Learning our morals and the way that we remember is important. Do we want to let the computers take this task? Should we hand over our liberties and freedoms to a computer? They're not emotional. They take no special considerations. They, you know, our future is hanging in the balance of this, and data centers are trying to take over all of the jobs that we take pride in and have special kind of way of doing it, you know, that makes it special, like Harley Davidson, you know, things like that, where we would want it, you know, to be particular. I just don't see the emotion or the caring in data. They're not going to be a helping neighbor that's going to come over and borrow you some sugar. or, you know, if you need a little something, they're not there for that. They're there for a specific task, and I don't believe that they're going to really benefit us. I'd like to see us going back to, you know, being a community in a whole, and not relying on computers as much, because I think we lose knowledge. I think that if you were in the middle of a forest and there was no reception, I kind of wonder what you would do. And I hope you think of these things and base your decision on them. So I'd just like to say no to the QTS data center, and I appreciate your time listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Quincy. Next is Scott Mueller, followed by Amber Alt, I believe. Is Scott here? Okay. So Scott, we have to unmute you, and I believe you have to accept it. Is that how that works? Yep, I think. Yep. Scott, I believe I think you can unmute. If you can attempt that now, and if you can, state your name and municipality, please.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect. Yep.
Okay, great. My name is Scott Miller. I am a DeForest resident, 520 Dennis Drive. I wish to speak in opposition to the QTS annexation. But one of the things I want to really talk about is QTS's promise of 700 jobs. Now, I've seen some things on that website that I question those numbers. It's possible that the QTS salesmen have exaggerated a little bit. But I want to, I have been, I'm retired IT from the state of Wisconsin. Since I have retired, I have been working for the state of Alaska. Now you're going to say, "Hey, Scott, that's quite a commute," and in fact, it is. The last time I went up there, it took me almost 30 hours to get there. Fortunately, I haven't had to go there for over 10 years. And so that's really my point of my conversation tonight, is that of the 700 jobs, how many of those are actually going to be on site in DeForest, in Dane County, in Wisconsin, or even in the United States. I can do my job, been doing it for 10 years, from my spare bedroom in DeForest. Without ever going into the office. Most of what the higher paying jobs are going to be doing from QTS can be done remotely. I was at a seminar a while back, and I heard an interesting statistic. There are more honors students in India than there are students in United States. So in my work, I deal with a lot of software developers from around the world. And I guess my point is, how many of those 700 jobs are going to be actually on site in this QTS installation when certainly most of the work can be done remotely? Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. So next up is Amber, followed by nobody. So you are the last one tonight, Amber.
There we go. I'm Amber Alt. I live in Madison on the north side, the part of Cherokee Marsh that will also be affected by the QTS data center ultimately, I think. I'm a little out of place because I wasn't born here. I was born in Ohio. Please. But I've been here 30 years. And so now I consider myself a Wisconsinite. When I moved, I didn't know really what life in Wisconsin would hold for me. But I want to share a little bit about what I have discovered about living here specifically. So I have a deep appreciation for the technology that has been developed here. So somebody earlier mentioned Epic, right? So Judith Faulkner creates this electronic health record system that has transformed healthcare in many ways. So I think about that. That has happened during the time that I've been here. I also think about Monty Schmidt, who innovated software in Sonic Foundry that really has revolutionized music and probably led to the development of every teenager sitting in his bedroom recording CDs now, right? That comes from here. So this has been a place of like exciting innovation. So we can think about this as a place that is not opposed to good technology, to good technological developments, and has the chops to bring these things into the world. But as I got to know Wisconsin over the course of the last 30 years, I also learned about John Muir, who grew up at a farm in Portage and became the father of the national park system, or about Aldo Leopold, about Estella Leopold, about Governor Nelson, about Ruth Hine, about Lori Otto. Do you know what she did? She spent her life in the 1970s drawing attention to DDT, which was destroying the health of people who were consuming it or inhaling it or swimming in it. She came from Wisconsin. So the Wisconsin tradition includes these kinds of people who are vigorous, brilliant environmental activists who have protected your environment, the environment that I've been lucky enough to live in as a transplant these last few decades. There was Francis Hammerstrom, who created the DNR's first endangered species list, or Winona LaDuke, or Dory Valier, or Tia Nelson, who's still at it, or my friend Maria Powell, who died 2 years ago, whose work was focused on environmental health and justice and working to empower communities and address disparities and exposure to environmental hazards. So
Excuse me, Amber, I'm sorry, your time is
We've
expired.
got both. We can bring them together. I'm asking you to vote no on this until the technology is environmentally friendly. Thank you.
Thank you, Amber. And I do want to express a deep appreciation that we've got through the 20-some, and the decorum in the room was very much appreciated. Great job, everybody. We do have some more items to go through. There is an item 13 that you may be interested on, but I invite you to please take this opportunity to leave if you need to. But we will move on to item number 10, which is check register. Normally there's not discussion, so I'm going to move forward on that one. Item number 11 is committee, commission, and board report. Update regarding the DeForest Area Library. Brad, is there? Public Safety Commission, Colleen, anything you want to mention?
We approved one, we denied one, that's it.
Thank you, Colleen. The Forest Area Senior Center, I believe that is Jan, and she's absent. Community Development Authority, is that you two? I think that's Jane. You want to bring it?
Alicia.
Alicia, sorry.
I mean, I think really the biggest updates are they cleared the corner construction and just moving forward on that project.
Thank you. Planning Zoning Commission, Colleen and I sit on, and I can say most of the items that was on that committee came up tonight under our agenda items. So I'll leave it at that. Public Services Committee, I think was.
We didn't meet yesterday.
And DeForest, Windsor Fire and EMS, anything to report on that? Is that you again, Colleen, or?
I think there's just following up on the Fire Station 2 schedule that's extended a bit here. So we anticipate that the second phase of drawings will come back. First go to the fire board. Probably that beginning couple of weeks in February. That will then come back to us. Then it would go to Windsor, and with the hope of looking to bid for that. That project. In addition to that, right now we are going back and forth on that cost share agreement between us and Windsor. So that I think we're stuck on two bigger issues, and so we hope to bring that to the village board around the same time.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Item 11.2 is minutes, so I'm hoping you read those minutes. And item number 12 is president's report, and I don't have anything to report because I did not go to the cities and villages, and I don't know, Bill, do you go to that? Okay. So item number 13, 13.1 is discussion regarding a draft pre-annexation agreement with QTS Madison 1 LLC. And Bill, did you want to open up that discussion?
Yeah, I can lead this discussion. So there's a detailed memo in the packet. I want to take a pause here and talk about what a pre-development or pre-annexation agreement is. It's generally a document that is not required as part of the annexation process. However, we thought as we hear folks talk, and we've spoken with third-party organizations interested in the data center. We felt strongly that a pre-annexation agreement was warranted to set up parameters and guardrails, protections to the village prior to the village board even considering the annexation petition. So Al and I and other staff have continued to work on that. I do want to note that even as we work to the pre-annexation agreement, the pre-annexation agreement and the annexation petition are separate items. So by approving or not approving the pre-annexation agreement doesn't necessarily have a direct effect on you voting on the annexation petition itself. Secondly, as we continue to receive comments through our public process and continue our discussions with third parties, we continue to add detail to the pre-annexation agreement, which eventually, if approved by the village board and seen and approved by the village board, will ultimately make it to the development agreement. Now, if you follow previous developments in DeForest, the development agreement is required by ordinance. It's usually an agreement that doesn't come until much later in the process when we have a lot more detail about the project. So generally, that's something that we are used to negotiating after the property's already been annexed to the village of DeForest or is in the village of DeForest. Again, in this case, we felt it important enough to ensure some of these protections and guardrails on the concerns that we've heard prior to you even having to consider the annexation. So question is, what is in this pre-annexation agreement? The details, the specific details, well, is still under negotiation. And so to discuss those terms and to review and consider new terms, that's something that is suited for a closed session. But generally, the pre-annexation agreement provides protections for reimbursement of village expenses. So we in DeForest have consistently historically believed that if there is a development coming to DeForest, that they are responsible for the charges and expenses in reviewing their projects, and that shouldn't be borne of the taxpayers. There's construction and operational restrictions. We talk in there about or require funding for public infrastructure improvements, similar with other projects in DeForest. If water or sewer or public infrastructure needs to be extended to that project site, that developer is responsible for it, unless the village board decides otherwise. We have guardrails for water, wastewater, and stormwater usage and limits, etc. We have guidelines on property tax and village budget impacts. So things like, in the past, in development agreements, we've looked at property value guarantees. We look at quality of life protections. So that's something that we've heard. What happens to my property? What happens to quality of life? We've heard today environmental concerns, and so we have in here environmental investment. We also add decommissioning and reclamation clauses. And then lastly, but not least, we have some language in here in regards to what QTS has promised for the 50 million community fund. So that's a general overview of the sections of what's included in the developer obligations and the pre-annexation agreement itself. It's not limited to that. So there's more, could be more. And again, this is in negotiation. So the draft that we will be discussing is a staff proposed draft. I know you haven't had an opportunity to look at that, but this is part of that process. I imagine that this is, again, we'll be going back and forth until ultimately it's approved. Following on that, I did include a memo, a timeline as part of the memo, looking at the next several meetings of the village board and planning and zoning commission, and being able to utilize both bodies of government as we go through this due diligence process for not only the annexation process, but the rezoning and the comprehensive plan. I think a lot of folks are curious to know how one affects the other. And so we did intertwine that process. And so it's our intention to walk through each of the sections of impact through those meetings, eventually leading to the public hearings and eventual decision on those items. So with that, if there's a question on timeline and generality of what a development agreement or a pre-annexation agreement is, I'm happy to answer that. If there's a question or change in regards to specific terms, again, to preserve that negotiation, I'd recommend that you move to closed session.
Thank you, Bill. And say before I open it up to the trustees, I'm wondering if we could pull that timeline up on the screen, or Bill, could you maybe mention the next couple meetings? I suspect we'll be going to closed session at some point, so I want to just make sure everybody in the room knows what's to come sometime soon. I do have it up in front of me if needed, but
So for the January 6th Village Board work session, we are looking to discuss the economic impact analysis. This was something that was conducted by Alliance Energy, and so we've invited them to talk about the economic impact analysis and why QTS was brought here. In the village board meeting on January 6th, we intend to look at the fiscal impacts, so primarily local fiscal impacts. What does it mean to our tax base? What does it mean to the mill rate? As part of that, we'll take a look at not only municipal, but what does it do to the DeForest area school district's mill rate, and then county and MATC. Tuesday, January 20th, we intend to look at local utility impacts. So one of the areas that we're taking a closer look at is specifically the separation of utilities and authority. We know that electric utility and utility rates, et cetera, are controlled through the PSC, and that's a process that we as a municipality, you don't have authority over. So here it's really intended to concentrate on the village utilities, water utility, sewer utility, and stormwater. So we'll take a look at the infrastructure impacts. We'll take a look at the rate impacts. As part of the utilities, we'll take a look at the road construction, how that looks like, where those connections, and have a better understanding of the infrastructure layout of the project. Tuesday, January 27th is a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. I believe this is the first, this would be a presentation of a full development concept plan. So the concept plan that you've seen previously at the village board is for phase 1. And as you know, we requested that they withdraw we rejected their annexation petition in order for them to resubmit a full annexation petition so that we can see the whole picture, and we're sticking with that. So this will be an opportunity to take a look at the full site. There is, as you can see on the agenda or the tentative timeline, again, that is a Planning and Zoning Commission. So the invitation would be to go for the village board to attend that meeting. If possible, we could have that concept meeting at the village board, but we're replicating then those presentations again. February 3rd is a village board meeting. We intend to talk about land use impacts. So generally land use impacts are gonna be reviewed on the Planning and Zoning Commission side as part of that commission's decision on and consideration on comprehensive plan and on rezoning. However, because the land use impacts are so important in this case, we felt it necessary that as you decide on the annexation petition and the pre-annexation agreement, that you as the village board also understand the land use implications. Monday, February 9th is a Planning and Zoning Commission. That's the public hearing regarding comprehensive plan amendment and the rezoning application. Tuesday, February 17th is a village board meeting. That night we'll consider and take a look at public safety impacts, so fire, EMS, emergency management, and PD. And then February 24th, Tuesday, Planning and Zoning Commission. Tentatively, that's the schedule for the Planning and Zoning Commission to make their final consideration and recommendation on the comp plan amendment, the rezoning, and potentially an urban service area amendment application to the village board. The last meeting that we have on this agenda, this calendar here is March 3rd, which is potentially available for the village board to consider the pre-annexation agreement, the annexation petition, and then the recommendations from the Planning and Zoning Commission on comprehensive plan, rezoning, and the urban service area amendment. So that's the tentative timeline and schedule for all that's coming up here. It's subject to change as we start to understand from the submittals from QTS and in talking with our consultants, subject matter experts. There's a lot of coordination that we have to do in order to ensure that we have the proper information to make the proper analysis and be able to present that to you. I'll stop there.
Okay. I have a question or two myself, but I'm going to open it up to trustees to continue the discussion. I see none from the other trustees. I guess I will ask Bill this pre-annexation that we'll likely talk about in closed session, I'm guessing at some point. How does the public say provide input? I know we've had a lot of people talk tonight. I suspect a lot of those things are going to be already in this pre-annexation or will be part of the conversation we'll probably have in closed session. But when does that say get to the public, or how do they provide input going forward, and what are the opportunities to say amend it, or is it going to be a living document?
So the way that we think that it's going to work here and is that, once you have an opportunity to take a look at it, there's some negotiation in between there. We continue to take comments and incorporate that, whether it's through staff or through yourself. Again, generally a negotiation of an agreement doesn't require a public hearing per se or public comments on that agreement. And so, we want to think about how do we, come across that, or how do we consider that as part of our negotiation. Again, we want to be mindful about as we go through negotiation of the agreement, what is the push and pull and the intricacies of getting everything right versus trying to get terms that meets the majority of folks, right? But following an approved pre-annexation agreement, it's intended that the pre-annexation agreement terms are then adopted into or accepted into the development agreement. And I would imagine at that point, when we're negotiating the development agreement, that there be additional terms because we're going to know more detail about the development itself.
Okay, thank you. So it sounds like to me this pre-annexation is, say, nearly like a kickoff to a future development agreement, if that's the way things go.
Yeah, these are I would say minimum terms for consideration of annexation, and then for that to be again implemented into the more detailed development agreement later down the line. We wanted to secure those obligations at this point before any consideration of that petition.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Alan, you're nodding along. Did you want to add anything?
Yeah, just to clarify, the agreement itself says that any development approvals will require a more detailed development agreement, that the zoning and conditional use permit, those types of things will be conditioned on them entering into a separate agreement. What this basically says is that agreement, that future agreement, will at least have these provisions in it, okay? Before we even consider annexation, we got to have an understanding on certain issues. That doesn't mean new issues can't be added or these provisions can't be changed. It just means that this is a baseline that, you know, let's not even talk about it unless we've got an understanding on these issues.
Okay, thank you very much for those clarifications. Trustees? So staff, I'm assuming I guess, yeah, we need a motion to go into close if that's what we want to do, is to talk about the items in the agreement. And I guess I would ask trustees, or I will make that motion myself if need be.
I'll make a motion, move into close.
But you have to read the announcement on the closed session.
Oh, I got to read the whole thing. Apologize. So item 13.1 again is discussion regarding a draft pre-annexation agreement with QTS Madison 1 LLC. And the village board may convene into closed session as authorized by Wisconsin statute 1985 1E for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, investing of public funds, or conducting other specific public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. The village board may reconvene in open session and further discuss the subject matter discussed in closed session. That is the whole agenda item. Deshidra, are you following it up with a motion to go into closed again?
For the purposes of discussion, I make a motion to move into close.
Thank you, Deshidra. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Brad. Roll call, please.
Trustee Little. Aye. Trustee Simpson.
Aye.
Trustee Williams. Trustee Allen.
Aye.
Trustee Cords. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. We will be going in the closed session. It is 8:14. Thank you. So we are out of close. It is now 9:52. We had a rather long discussion about this pre-annexation agreement, but in the end, we don't have any action that we're taking at this time. And item number 14 is the reconvening. So item 15, any other business? Anybody, trustees? No. Item number 16.
Adjourn.
Second. Motion by Tashidra, seconded by Brad. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned at 9:52.